They say the golden age of television is full of epic, big-budget blockbusters. And while that's partly true, let's face it, half the best stuff on TV somehow slips under everyone's radar. I'm talking about sci-fi shows that juggle high-stakes drama, comedic gold, and existential dread better than some major hits, but don't get nearly as much hype. Maybe they're overshadowed by big-name franchises, looking at you, Star Wars and Marvel, or maybe people assume they're too weird for mainstream taste. Whatever the reason, I'm here to fix that cosmic injustice. Buckle up because I'm about to drop 10 lesser-known, underappreciated, or just plain fascinating sci-fi series that you need to add to your binge list, assuming you actually enjoy sleeping less and endlessly overthinking time travel, parallel worlds, or the possibility that your toaster might be plotting your demise. So if you're tired of the same old lasers and aliens, and you want mind-bending plots, comedic hijinks, and galaxy-sized drama, look no further. We're going on a tour of dimension hopping, apocalypse dodging, and downright alien experiences. Just keep your arms and legs inside the wormhole at all times, because things are about to get unpredictably weird. Let's kick things off with a show that somehow manages to be both a heart-stopping thriller and a sly commentary on modern-day escapism. Alice in Borderland traps a bunch of people, led by an aimless gamer named Arisu, in a deserted Tokyo where your life expectancy depends on completing sadistic games to renew your visa. Miss a deadline, and a freaking laser from the sky zaps you into oblivion faster than you can shout, "Wait, I have questions!" The visuals alone make it worth your time. An abandoned Shibuya crossing, labyrinthine puzzle rooms, and post-apocalyptic cityscapes that'll make you wonder how many sets Netflix had to build just to demolish them for dramatic effect. But beyond the aesthetics, the series dives deep into survival psychology, challenging alliances and the million-dollar question: if life is a game, who's really winning? Some fans compare it to Squid Game, but come on, Alice in Borderland has its own distinct style. With each challenge, the stakes ratchet higher, leaving you drenched in tension and craving answers. And speaking of answers, let's just say that after the final credits roll, you'll probably be scouring fan theories online, trying to piece together what the DMN just happened. So if you're up for an adrenaline shot to the veins, this is your jam. But if you think a twisted version of Tokyo is shocking, wait until you see what an entire galaxy looks like when it's on the brink of collapse. Next up, we blast off into the high-concept territory of Isaac Asimov's Foundation, a story so sweeping, it practically invented the phrase galactic epic. Apple TV Plus took on the Herculean task of adapting this classic, focusing on a future empire that's basically rotting from the inside out. Enter Hari Seldon, the psycho-historian who claims he can mathematically predict the empire's downfall. He's the guy at a party who says, "I told you so," before everything goes to sh**. The show delivers top-tier visuals and a budget that could probably fund a small country for a year, massive starships, sprawling city planets, and costumes so elaborate they'd make any red carpet designer weep. Some folks call it a little slow burn, but if you're patient, you'll be rewarded with an intricate tapestry of politics, rebellion, and philosophy about the fate of civilizations. Lee Pace's portrayal of Brother Day is especially captivating. Let's just say he rules the screen the same way his character rules an entire galaxy, with a terrifying magnetic elegance. Not everyone's on board with the pacing. Some fans want more space battles, fewer introspective monologues, but for those who appreciate a good philosophical meltdown mixed with empire-spanning drama, Foundation is pure catnip. Give it a few episodes and you'll be scribbling mathematical equations in a desperate attempt to predict your own future, which for most of us still involves too much caffeine and not enough savings. Of course, predicting the future is one thing. Manipulating the past is another beast entirely. So let's pop into a show that juggles timeline paradoxes like flaming torches. Now, if you like your sci-fi with a side of time travel chaos, 12 Monkeys is your golden ticket, or maybe your golden splinter, in the space-time continuum. This sci-fi adaptation expands on Terry Gilliam's 1995 cult classic, following James Cole, a man sent from a plague-ravaged future to stop the apocalypse before it starts. No pressure or anything, the show gives you swirling paradoxes, conspiracies, and moral dilemmas that'd make a philosopher's head spin. Every time Cole thinks he's solved one problem, he's effectively caused 3 more in a different decade. Typical time travel nonsense, right? But the real gem here is the relationship between Cole and Dr. Cassandra Rayleigh. Their dynamic evolves in ways that make you question, is it destiny, or do they just have no choice but to keep saving each other from cosmic doom. You'll find yourself second-guessing every scene. Wait, did that happen already, or is it going to happen next episode but also in the past? The mental gymnastics are intense, but that's part of the fun. Add in a charismatic group of allies and some deliciously villainous antagonists, and you've got a show that keeps your heart pounding like you just shotgunned 3 espressos. By the time you wrap up all 4 seasons, you might need a flowchart and possibly a therapist to fully digest it. Time travel drama is stressful enough, but what about a not-so-distant future where your best friend might be a highly advanced robot with questionable emotions? Let's dial down the cosmic scale and dive into something more domestic, yet strangely unsettling. In Humans, the near-future concept of synths is introduced as the ultimate household helper, cooking your dinner, doing your laundry, and maybe even tucking your kids into bed. Of course, the big question is, at what point do these AI-driven companions become a little too human? The series doesn't hold back in exploring the ethical, emotional, and occasionally terrifying consequences of relying on machine labor for basically everything. Rather than focusing on world domination or epic robot rebellions, hey, I love a good Terminator scenario as much as the next person. Humans zooms in on personal, everyday encounters. Families squabble over whether it's healthy to have a perfectly polite android raising their kids. And certain synths start developing, let's call them feelings. That's when the lines between artificial and real get super blurry. Expect social commentary on everything from the future job market to relationships in a technologically dependent world. Is your spouse cheating on you with a synth? Yeah, that's a conversation you never expected to have, but hey, this is the show's brand of subtle horror. If you've ever given your Alexa side-eye after an oddly timed response, Humans might confirm your worst fears, but in the best, most binge-worthy way possible. But you know, AI can still be useful, especially if you're an alien trying to blend into small-town Earth, right? On that note, let's see how an extraterrestrial stands up to the day-to-day grind of being a local doctor. From existential robot dread, we jump to a comedic left turn with Resident Alien. Picture this: an alien crash lands on Earth, disposes of the nearest human, ouch, and assumes his identity, only to realize small-town life is way more complicated than any advanced civilization could have prepared him for. Enter Harry Vanderspiegel, a clueless alien in a human suit who's forced to serve as the town doctor, because diagnosing Earth diseases was definitely on his galactic to-do list. Alan Tudyk's performance is pure comedy gold. Watching Harry try to interpret everyday social cues is like seeing a dog attempt to play chess. You know it's probably not going to work out, but it's hysterical to watch. Of course, the big cosmic twist is that Harry has an evil mission. Spoiler, it involves wiping out humanity. But the more time he spends solving small-town murders, bonding with the locals, and discovering things like pizza and sarcasm, the more complicated his mission becomes. Don't let the comedic surface fool you. Resident Alien isn't afraid to explore heavier themes like belonging, prejudice, and the occasional moral crisis, but it does so with a breezy tone that keeps you snickering, even when an autopsy goes hilariously wrong. If you ever wanted to see what a Martian might think of your weird Earth habits, this show's got you covered. We've handled aliens, robots, and time travel, so how about we throw parallel universes into the mix, starring none other than the legendary J.K. Simmons. In Counterpart, bureaucracy meets science fiction in the strangest possible way. Howard Silk is your average, meek office drone at a top-secret Berlin agency. He's not exactly living the dream until he stumbles on the fact that his workplace is actually a portal to a parallel world, because obviously the HR department forgot to mention that in the new hire orientation. Here's the kicker. On the other side of this portal, there's another Howard Silk, a version of him who's confident, lethal, and everything this Howard is not. J.K. Simmons plays both roles with mind-blowing nuance. One minute he's a timid nobody, the next he's a hardened spy. Honestly, it's worth watching just for the actor's masterclass in dual performances. Of course, once you mix espionage with parallel universes, you're in for double the paranoia. Every friend could be a foe, every foe might be, well, still a foe. The show explores identity, regret, and the question, how would you measure up against another you who made slightly different life choices? It's a thrilling, twisted reflection on the roads not taken, and one that ended way too soon. But don't worry, the 2 seasons we got are still a gem for anyone who loves covert missions, clandestine conspiracies, and the creeping suspicion that your doppelganger might be living a more exciting life. If you think espionage across dimensions is intense, just imagine an entire space race that changes the course of human history, onward to a show that proves the moon isn't the only frontier worth fighting over. What if the Soviet Union landed on the moon first? That's the premise of For All Mankind, a series that reimagines the space race with a delightfully twisted sense of reality. Suddenly, NASA is the underdog, forced to push boundaries it never would have while the Soviets keep flexing their lunar dominance. The result is an alternate history that leaps forward a decade each season, exploring new what-if scenarios at breakneck speed. Part of the charm is watching how political and social issues morph in this parallel timeline. If you're a sucker for retro space gear, vintage NASA logos, and tense rocket launches, you'll be in heaven. But don't get too comfortable. This show loves to highlight the personal lives of the astronauts and engineers, revealing the gnarly toll that ambition can take on families. Possibly the biggest shock is how quickly it escalates. Each season jumps a few years, so you'll see major shifts in technology, leadership, and public sentiment practically overnight. Critics praise it for merging tight character drama with splashy alt history sequences, though some viewers find the time skips a tad jarring. But hey, that's part of the ride. If you want to see how a single historical twist can unravel a tapestry of possibilities, buckle in. Just maybe keep a tissue handy for those emotional astronaut moments. Of course, we've rocketed through space, so let's pivot to something a bit older and quirkier. A long-running British sitcom that's basically Monty Python meets outer space. Few sci-fi comedies can claim the longevity or loyal fan base of Red Dwarf. Born in the late 80s, this British sitcom follows Dave Lister, the last human alive, aboard a massive mining ship 3 million years into deep space. Alongside his hologram bunkmate Rimmer, a humanoid cat, and an overworked android named Creighton, Lister bumbles through cosmic shenanigans. The humor veers from slapstick to existential. One minute they're dealing with time travel paradoxes that turn them into their own grandparents, don't ask, and the next they're embroiled in a religious debate about whether a curry is better than fish. Despite the show's many behind-the-scenes dramas, like the creator's epic falling out, it endures. The comedic chemistry is a thing of legend, mixing sarcasm, British wit, and occasionally some surprisingly heartfelt moments. Sure, it's got dated special effects, but let's be real, that's part of the charm. And if you stick around through multiple seasons, and there are many, you'll see just how ambitious and downright weird it can get. If your brand of humor includes references to parallel universes and a cat person who's permanently convinced he's God's gift to everyone, Red Dwarf is your new best friend. But let's bring it back to more modern sensibilities with another fan-favorite series that hopped between decades and tried to rewrite humanity's future. Netflix's Travelers is one of those gems that sneaks onto your queue and then devours your weekend in a glorious binge. The premise, hundreds of years from now, humanity is on the brink of collapse, so they develop a way to send consciousness back to the 21st century, right into the bodies of people about to die. Dark, absolutely, but also brilliant. Each traveler is part of a specialized team following the director's instructions to avert catastrophes and shift the timeline. As they slip into new identities, they inherit all the baggage that comes with them. Family drama, addictions, careers, you name it. Balancing the mission with these day-to-day challenges makes for some hair-pulling tension. One moment they're stopping a plane crash, the next they're navigating an awkward dinner with the spouse of the person whose body they hijacked. It's slick, it's emotional, and it's deeply concerned with moral questions like, is it okay to rewrite the past if it saves the future? The real tragedy? It ended after 3 seasons, leaving fans to form therapy groups and comment sections across the internet. Still, the episodes that exist are a near-perfect blend of high-stakes action, heartfelt storytelling, and that underlying dread that messing with time can come back to haunt you. Finally, let's talk about a show that fans still mourn for. One that went from comedic jabs to epic cosmic sagas, only to be cut off at its prime. Rounding out our list is Farscape, the legendary Australian-American series that smashed together Jim Henson animatronics, outlandish aliens, and a hapless astronaut named John Crichton who got flung through a wormhole. It's like Star Wars meets a fever dream. Think puppets that are actually terrifying, interspecies romances, and a ship that's alive and very moody. Crichton starts out as a regular guy just trying not to die in a universe filled with peacekeepers, rebels, and bizarre cosmic hazards. The crew of the living ship Moya is a ragtag family of ex-cons, warriors, and wisecracking fugitives who can't go one episode without a meltdown. The show's tone swings from comedic to heartbreakingly tragic at warp speed. And then there's Scorpius, one of the creepiest, cunning villains to ever lurk in a leather suit. The series was famously canceled after 4 seasons, leaving viewers hanging on a savage cliffhanger. The outcry was so loud, fans basically manifested a miniseries to wrap it up. Even then, we're all still daydreaming about the sequel that never happened. If you want a show that's unapologetically weird, stuffed with practical effects, and unafraid to put its characters through the emotional ringer, Farscape will make your heart soar and then crush it when you least expect it. There you have it, 10 sci-fi TV shows that prove there's a whole multiverse of entertainment beyond the mainstream. We've ventured through lethal Tokyo games, dimension-hopping conspiracies, time-bending viruses, synthetic humans, comedic aliens, alt-history space races, and puppet-driven cosmic chaos. If you're still convinced you've seen it all, trust me, these series will prove you wrong and make your watch list double in length overnight. Whether you want a gut-punch emotional roller coaster, witty banter, or existential dread, and let's be honest, who doesn't want some existential dread these days? Each show offers a unique flavor of sci-fi brilliance. So pick your poison: time travel meltdown, robotic existential crisis, or petty squabbles in deep space, and dive in. In the meantime, feel free to rage in the comments about any I might have ranked incorrectly, or if you think some other hidden gem deserves the spotlight. After all, ranting is half the fun of being a sci-fi nerd. Also, if you want more of my snark-laden reviews, go ahead and subscribe. Or don't, but then you'll miss out on the next deep dive into underrated cinematic chaos. Thanks for watching, folks, and remember, next time you look at the stars, keep an eye out. You never know what parallel universe or AI butler might be lurking just beyond the cosmic horizon. Safe travels!